Welcome to Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Helldivers 2. I played it on the PS5, it's also available on the PC. And yes, I know I'm late getting onto this, but I have a friend who was like, hey, we should play this. And I was like, okay, let's play this. And then they didn't play this at all this week. But let's get into the campaign. This game is incredibly heavily inspired by Starship Troopers, which is actually really funny. This game is very much a parody, and it very much plays off the ideas of like this extreme patriotism and all of that to the point where it's comical, like in Starship Troopers. You create and play your own Helldiver who you are tasked by Super Earth to spread managed democracy, and really that involves just slaughtering a whole lot of automatons and bugs, which is really all you need for a game like this. This is clearly not meant to be a heavily story-driven game. So let's move on to the audio, and the first thing I'm going to say is there's not a huge amount of voiceover. There's enough. Like in the opening cutscene, there's voiceover, and it's every bit as cheesy as it needs to be for the point of what it's doing and the parody that it is being. As for the rest of the voiceover work, it's a lot of effort. It's your characters pointing things out. It's your characters screaming like fucking maniacs as you unload an LMG on a bunch of bugs. And it works. It's good enough. It's not like, oh, delivering dramatic moments. It doesn't need to be. So we're going to move on to the music, which I honestly didn't pay that close of attention, so I'm not going to sit there and tell you that it's something I'm going to remember, but it worked well enough. And then you've got your sound effects for the bugs, the automatons, the planet you're on, the explosions, the guns, all of that, and I thought it was all good. I think it works. I especially love the sound effects for the larger orbital strikes, the missile strikes, etc. I really enjoyed those. Those feel good, they sound good. Admittedly, they don't quite rattle you in the chest like some games have had sound effects that do, but I think they worked. So let's move on to the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and this is a third-person shooter. You can roll solo if you want. There are ways to do it. It sucks. I don't recommend it. I didn't find that enjoyable. I did try it just for the shits and gigs. I got to play a little bit with my friends, and that was actually the most fun I had with it, but playing with randos is hit or miss, but overall it was hit. There were times where I would jump into a match with randos and I would end up playing 4 or 5 different missions with them. And then there were other times where the host would fuck off after one mission and you'd have to find a new one. And that was when it was less fun. But when you were rolling with dudes for like 4 or 5 missions, that was actually a lot of fun. And that is what this game is. You pick a zone, you go to that planet, you find a mission on that planet, you and your friends jump in, or you jump in with randos. There's a good variety of missions, whether it's rescuing scientists, doing geological surveys, or just killing bugs or automatons, etc. But then when you're on the planet, there's other stuff to find. There's special in-game currencies, which yes, there's a level of monetization to that. But there's also just completing other side missions, like if you're on a bug planet, blowing up bug nests that don't necessarily have anything to do with the mission that you're on, finding escape pods, just finding a variety of things, getting extra experience and credits, etc. But going beyond that, you get to kit out your character. There's a good amount of customization for the armor and stuff, and you get points and etc. to unlock that stuff. But it goes beyond that. It's not just your main weapons. You can call in a heavier weapon. I personally liked the Stalwart, which was an LMG. It wasn't the most damaging one, but you could reload on the move. Whereas then you have like the machine gun, where it does a lot more damage, a little harder to control, slower, and you have to kneel and you can't move when you're reloading. But you can also call in turrets and airstrikes and orbital strikes and all this other stuff, and you can kit yourself out a little differently than everybody else. Or on certain missions, it's good for everyone to have an auto turret and things like that. Overall, I would say the gameplay mechanics and whatnot are very simplistic, but I had a lot of fun with them. You get a good group going and you can have a lot of fun. And I know, friendly fire, I should point that out, friendly fire. And the devs had said they're going to keep it in because it's funny, and it can be really funny when you start yelling at your friend for shooting you in the ass. But I think the gameplay mechanics, while, like I said, simplistic, I think it works and it lends itself to just being fun. Let's move on to the controls. And the controls, I think, work well. The aiming is pretty good. I don't think it's flawless. I think the movement is good. The buttons are responsive. I do wish there was a better diving and avoiding mechanic, as well as you could actually jump. That would be nice. But overall, I don't have any real complaints with the controls. I was happy with them. They did what I needed them to do, so I'm not going to cry about it. Now, lastly, graphics and visuals, and I'm gonna say not the prettiest game I've ever played, but it is a good looking game. It's kind of like I was saying previously, we've reached a point where even games that aren't necessarily top tier in the visuals department are still really good looking games. They're just not quite the best looking. We have reached that point, and I think this game falls in that category. There is a good amount of detail in your character, in your items, in what you're carrying, how they shoot, the different effects for the different orbital strikes and bombing runs, etc. that you have. I think they did an awesome job bringing all of those designs to life, and there's enough detail in them that it looks good. I think there's a good variety in the bugs, and I mean, they feel exactly like you expect them to, and there are some giant ones, which I thought was cool. I do like the variety and that you can kind of pick out what problem they may or may not be just by looking at them. You can kind of identify the threat that they will be. As for the automatons, similar there. I think the automatons, though, are a little generic, which also, though, kind of works with the tongue-in-cheek, kind of goofy satire that this game is, to an extent anyways. But overall, I did enjoy the design of the enemies. I liked the worlds. I do feel like sometimes they felt a little samey, but that could also just be the fact that I was distracted by all the other shit going on. Overall, though, I was happy with the looks. I thought the design was fun. I think it really fit with the tone that they were going for, whether it's the enemies, the worlds, the characters themselves, etc. I did have one fun, weird visual glitch where, like, it looks like part of the bug is just stretching off into the ether, and I mean, like, 50 plus feet. And when you kill those bugs, they will just kind of fly in that direction, which was kind of amusing to me. I mean, it didn't ruin anything. It was just kind of a weird glitch. So let's get into the wrap up. And to put it simply, I had a lot of fun with this game. If you've got a group of friends, it's all the better because you can have some really fun and ridiculous moments with them. I won't say that this game is perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It's very clearly driven by gameplay rather than the story. But at the end of the day, it's not a $70 game and it's a lot of fun. So I don't have a problem recommending this game. I absolutely recommend this game. If you're looking for a fun team shooter, this is one to play. It's worth the money. Okay, in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, have you actually seen Starship Troopers? It's kind of an old movie at this point. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.